I know for sure, I'm not saying it was Jay-Z. I can't say that Jay-Z did anything, right? But I know for sure, that Roc Nation was seeding negative stories about Colin Kaepernick during the time that he was really in traction with Jay-Z. For sure. I've told this story before, I'll tell it again. This is another story where I give Harvey a ton of credit, right? So I'm at my desk one time. This is after the Roc Nation NFL deal has been announced. And give Harvey more credit than just with how he played this. I'll give him credit for the fact that he goes, hey, I just got this information on the phone. I know who was on the other end of the phone. I know who Harvey's Roc Nation contact is, right? I just got this information on the phone. And all of these things about Colin Kaepernick is what I just got told, right? He comes over to me and he tells me all of these things. And it was the whole Colin Kaepernick doesn't really want to play narrative. Like Colin Kaepernick didn't go to this training or he sabotaged himself this way or whatever. Actually, it was the same thing that people had started to hear on First Take. And it was a narrative that was getting around because either it was coming from what I thought at first is that either it was coming from players that had played with him or people that knew things. I don't know, but I had heard it before, right? And Harvey comes over to me and he says all of this stuff and he's like, yeah, did you know that he actually doesn't really want to play? And I looked at Harvey and I said, look, I don't think that we here at TMZ should be getting in the middle of what's going on between Colin Kaepernick and Jay-Z. I think if we run what essentially was a hit piece on Colin Kaepernick, I don't think we have the culture.
I am the savviest of mics in this. It's I Am Savvy Mike TV. And well, got my nigga Van Lathan and his co-host Rachel. And shout out to her. You know, while I might not agree with her, you know, she's cool. I like her. I like her as a B mic. Like she's a really good B mic. Like I fuck with her. She makes this podcast, you know, while I love listening to Van as well. But I like it's like, you know, she could really stop the conversation or mess it up, or she could just placate. But no, she has her opinion. She stands on her 10 on what she feels, even if she's disagreeing with what Van is saying. And that just makes for good entertainment, good content. So I fuck with both of them up here. But they're discussing, you know, Jay-Z and Roc Nation. Here we go again. It's like I can't escape this shit. Jay, I promise you, I don't care. You know, I don't give a fuck. You know, look, if Jay-Z has suppressed and silenced me, shit. Him, Castanet, Joe Budden, they all in the same line, I guess. I don't know. They all fall under the same boat, under the same umbrella. It is what it is to me. So, regardless of it, I have no qualms with Roc Nation. I have no problems with them. But I am starting to notice, at least other people in media outside of DJ Academics, especially seeing Nicki Minaj like kind of put a spotlight on it. Now, I guess since Nicki put the spotlight on it, and Nicki is the even act like bigger than all of them, at least all the people in the media landscape. So if Nicki's just still out here, justice for Damore, Desiree Perez, all this extra shit, and ain't nothing happened to her, you know. And it's kind of like if something does happen to her, like if they try to stop her, they are suppressing people, like, so it'll be too obvious, you know. Other people, it's not gonna be that obvious. Oh yeah, we can hit them with a copyright strike. We can get their channel clipped because it's not gonna be that obvious. Ain't nobody gonna miss them. Ain't nobody notice they gone. Nicki Minaj though, the queen herself. That's, you run into a whole other, because now you gotta deal with the Barbs. you don't have enough bots, enough whatever systems. Y'all AI ain't that good to deal with. The Barbs, I believe the Barbs could stop Terminator. The Barbs could stop Skynet. Fuck a John Connor. Call the Barbs. Bruh, AI couldn't stop the fucking Barbs. they no. So it's like that's a whole different monster. So it is kind of freeing up a lot of other people to talk about this Roc Nation situation and what they got going on. So Colin Kaepernick's wife had spoke out and said, pay attention the things that people are saying about Roc Nation isn't a lie. They did try to silence Colin, blah, 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 blah. And so now we have Van Lathan talking about the same situation as well. Let's listen.
It was Nessa, and she was talking about Nicki Minaj's claims about a smear job that Jay-Z had against Colin Kaepernick. All right. I have to say this. I think the thing here, and I've told this story before, I think the thing here is the Jay-Z part of it. Obviously, that's the biggest deal. But when Nessa's talking right there's a part of me that feels bad about letting her be on her own with saying that. And this is the reality. This is what happens, at least in this one instance, because I was there. I know for sure. I'm not saying it was Jay-Z. I can't say that Jay-Z did anything, right? But I know for sure, that Roc Nation was seeding negative stories about Colin Kaepernick during the time that he was really in traction with Jay-Z. For sure. I've told this story before. I'll tell it again. This is another story where I give Harvey a ton of credit, right? So I'm at my desk one time. This is after the Roc Nation NFL deal has been announced. And give Harvey more credit than just with how he played this. I'll give him credit for the fact that he goes, hey, I just got this information on the phone. I know who was on the other end of the phone. I know who Harvey's Roc Nation contact is, right? I just got this information on the phone. And all of these things about Colin Kaepernick is what I just got told, right? He comes over to me and he tells me all of these things. And it was the whole Colin Kaepernick doesn't really want to play narrative. Like Colin Kaepernick didn't go to this training, or he sabotaged himself this way or whatever. Actually, it was the same thing that people had started to hear on First Take. And it was a narrative that was getting around because either it was coming from what I thought at first is that either it was coming from players that had played with him or people that knew things. I don't know, but I had heard it before, right? And Harvey comes over to me and he says all of this stuff. And he's like, yeah, did you know that he actually doesn't really want to play? And I looked at Harvey and I said, look, I don't think that we here at TMZ should be getting in the middle of what's going on between Colin Kaepernick and Jay-Z. I think if we run what essentially was a hit piece on Colin Kaepernick, I don't think we have the cultural cachet to do that. Number one, to insert ourselves into the middle of that situation. And also, I think it's choosing a side in something that is literally at the core of a culture, of a Black cultural discussion right now. I don't think we should do it. And he listened.
And you didn't do it.
He did not do it. He listened. He goes, okay, that makes a lot of sense. He listened. I'm like, I don't think we should do that. Like, he listened, right? He went and got back on the phone. And when he came back, there was a different story. And the story that ended up making it to TMZ was that Jay-Z somehow had the inside track on becoming an NFL owner because of his relationship with the NFL. And that ended up being the story. You guys could probably Google that story. I'm sure it's still on the site, that Jay-Z was going to become an NFL owner. And the reason why that story went up is because it was still a story that kind of explained why he had decided to take the deal with the NFL. It was a story that made it make sense to people. Like, oh my God, maybe Jay-Z, as the owner of a team, can then put Colin on a team. Or maybe moving on from the kneeling situation is worth it because we're going to get a Black owner in the NFL.
Or just have some influence towards
right.
Black culture, people within the NFL. I get it.
Right. Because a lot of people were asking the question, like, why he did this, because it didn't seem like it was a deal. And they were pitting Colin Kaepernick against Jay-Z. Full disclosure, I know Colin Kaepernick and Nessa. I do not know Jay-Z or any of the higher-ups at Roc Nation, right? So I can't say what Jay-Z was having somebody do. But the fact that they were people from Roc Nation that were trying to put negative stories about Colin Kaepernick into the ether is true. Now, that is two things. One, so much more common than people would think that it is, right? So much more common in media than people would think that it is. That happens all the time. Essentially, the reason why I would tell celebrities all the time is like make friends with somebody at TMZ, have somebody in the office, is for two things. Number one, so you can get a story and a reaction that is favorable to you once you do find yourself in the middle of something. And also, so you can jump out ahead of stories and put your side out there first, right? And a lot of times, I don't want nothing to do with the office. And I would tell people like, hey, just to let you know, the white people and the big corporations, they got people inside of the office that listen to them. Nobody's cooking stories for anyone. But the reason why at the bottom of an article it says, we reached out to this person for comment is because we reached out to this person for comment. Like, this is a story about you. What do you say about this? And if you don't comment, that leaves that. But if you say something, then you get the opportunity to at least have some influence on how that story plays on the page, right? But they were into it, and sides were working. And so that was a thing that actually happened. I still do not understand why Jay-Z, why Roc Nation entered into the relationship with the NFL that they did. I'm not saying that it hasn't been good for some people. They spread a lot of money around. And even more than the money that they spread around with Roc Nation through, Inspire Change and all of that stuff. Man, I know activists that have been bailed out of jail. I know activists that have had money put in their pocket. Roc Nation has done good work. That one particular move, I still don't know why that happened. And there hasn't been a sufficient answer as to how you went from, we don't need the NFL, we don't need all of this, literally a year before, to becoming a partner with them, and then us getting essentially a Super Bowl halftime show for it, right? And if I were Colin Kaepernick or people that, or supportive of him, I would still have those questions too, because they haven't really been answered.
That is rather interesting that Van brought up First Take. Because y'all remember, honestly, this is probably the reason Max Kellerman got fired. Y'all think Roc Nation got Max Kellerman fired? It wasn't Stephen A. Smith. He kept saying it wasn't me. Well, he kept saying it didn't work out, and it was half him, but it wasn't all of him. The exec said, sure, yeah, we agree. So you think one of them exec was an exec from Roc Nation that apparently was leaking information to Harvey? And look, Van was there. Trusted source. The mystery continues. Feel like Scooby-Doo. Wow. This is some crazy information, some new information that kind of does, play into the narrative that is out there about Roc Nation now, that they are putting out negative stories about people that they aren't cool with or that are their ops. I've been standing on the same point every time we talk about this, and I know y'all probably like, Michael, we know exactly what we understand. Okay, you don't think Jay-Z is, but if you don't think he ain't calling nobody, that's what I've been seeing. Like, niggas been like, well, yeah, he's not actually, but you don't think he's talking to somebody saying, hey, I just saw this is some bullshit. Talk to this person, talk to that person, and get how I feel out there. Like, he's doing that. And I'm like, well, I'm not, I'm sure Jay-Z probably got an hour out of his day to say, fuck my ops, or fuck these niggas that's trying to make me look bad. Let me make sure I spin stories about them as well. I'm sure he does, but if I'm him, I wouldn't care that much, to be honest. Look, I'm making moves wherever I'm making them at. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Honestly, though, I don't understand why Jay-Z would stop Colin Kaepernick. But at the same time, they tried to help him, but they didn't give him the circumstances that he wanted. I guess at least he didn't want to just do it at some high school football field and this person he wanted to be able to record. It was a lot of shit with that shit. It was a lot going on with that Colin Kaepernick and NFL shit. It's just, at this point, we know now he cannot play in the NFL. Like at that point, it was a conversation. Like maybe he could really help a team, you know. Now it's like, time has passed. And one thing you cannot stop is Father Time. But he is still blackballed, so he can't really, you know, be a part of the league. Like, I'm sure that's the problem for him now. He's like, well, I want to be at least part of the league, help other people coming up in it, blah, blah, blah. Can't even do that now. So who knows, you know. But still, regardless of it, that does push the fact that Roc Nation is out here probably pushing narratives about their ops and whoever their ops might be. But their queen op. Their queen op. I'm telling you, when Nicki fans start coming for me, I am no one. Like, I am literally nobody. Nobody. No one knows who I am. When they start coming for me, you think Roc Nation can handle that beast? The Barbs? The Barbs will show y'all, bruh. They'll have Jay-Z number out there. Like, a guaranteed. Like, they'll be like, fuck Hove, here's his number. Like, they'll dox that nigga. Now, whatever Barb doing it going to jail, but they'll do it. They'll do it. Like, Barbs is crazy, bro. Anyways, let me know what y'all think in the comments below. As always, I am Savvy Mike in this. I am Savvy Mike TV. Peace.